You know, I stay up late, I work late, so I get in late. Usually roll in around noon. My name is Eric Haze, and I'm from New York City, the one and only. These are all different variations on F.C.R.B. and F.C.Real. So I was 10 years old in 1971. New York was a wild, wild kind of broken city. And we were wild, wild kids using the city as our entire playground. Yeah, I started writing graffiti in 1972 when I was 11 years old. Graffiti was flowers and trees, and it was vegetation growing around us in the whole city, so you couldn't escape it. We were influenced by the first generation to sort of find our identity, choose a name, find our identity, and develop some style. And this is really what I'd call process drawings. Again, you see, we sort of land on certain ideas and certain styles, and then we're exercising them in different directions with different markers, different tools, different weights. I'd like to think that the last 5-10 years, a lot of us from the same generation have sort of found each other again, so that I do have a sense of community. I do have a sense of New York being sort of a spiritual center for me, whether it's going to other people's studio in different parts of Brooklyn, Futura's in Red Hook, Stashes over here locally in this neighborhood too. And this really is sort of the artist neighborhood, the artist community.
Yeah, but here's the SOPH and Eric Haze collaboration. Exactly what I needed. Hey, what's up? My name is Stash. I am from Brooklyn, New York. When I think about Eric and I think about Haze and his other nom de plume, SE3, which is probably one of my favorite simplistic, we call the throw-up style that he was known for doing.
Okay, my name's Jules Gayton. I'm from London. Kind of lived all over, New York for a long time, Hawaii for a long time, and now I'm based in LA, and I work for Jupiter Auction House.
I created a lot of different designs for different people when I was freelancing and just starting out, taking whatever work I could get to put my name on the map.
I think for me, Eric's graphic sensibility, it's almost mathematical. It's almost like, sometimes I get confused when I look at some of the work and how easy it is for him, how easy it's become. It's his language, and there's something amazing to me about that. And like I said, his transition to now painting more free form, but yet graphic, how he's managed to combine and really sort of master his hand in that way. I mean, he writes like a computer, like a font.
It's about learning the word, learning the characters, learning the relationships between all the elements, and then doing it over and over and over again until it becomes muscle memory. I had been given a number of jobs and pieces of design from the Beastie Boys and CBS Records, which was the parent for Def Jam, and that led to me being the art director on the first Public Enemy album cover, which Chuck created the original idea for the logo and Glenn had shot the photos. So I was the art director on the Public Enemy, but I was not the first set of eyes on it. LL Cool J was probably the first big league logo that I was commissioned to create. It was the first album cover that I was given full independence to create as an art director, as a designer, and production start to finish. The LL Cool J sort of borrowing from Cool Cigarettes and recontextualizing an existing icon to recreate it in our image.
His logos for LL Cool J, for EPMD. There's so many amazing logos that Eric Haze has done. I don't think I could just pick one, but his style is just very strong.
If you look at logos like EPMD, I was aggressively trying to do something different than graffiti. I was trying to prove this range of styles and range of abilities, not just fall back on the one thing that was sort of most comfortable. Keith Haring was always a strong influence on me. Through our friendship, through watching his sort of path and how he elevated, but he also believed in the same thing I believed, that we wanted to reach the masses. We were both sort of populists. So it was Keith who first encouraged me to make my first t-shirts. I started printing the Haze Bat logo t-shirt, and I believe Kenny Scharf and I were the only two other artists to sell product in the pop shop.
Yeah, I got this off him, I guess, around 85, 86 in New York. Still got it.
My name is Joshua Vides, born and raised San Bernardino, California. I'm an artist, entrepreneur, graphic designer, father, husband, and a bunch of other things.
So when I arrived in LA, 1991, I set up my design studio again, and I was focused on a fresh start in Los Angeles, where I felt that I had brought something new from New York to the table in Los Angeles. Obviously, the Beastie Boys cover in the early 90s was one of the more visible and historical works that stands the test of time. I think it was 91, 92, I decided to dive into creating my own brand, Haze.
I remember reaching out to Eric and I was like, yo, I want to start this brand. And I was like, yo, what am I going to call it? Like Subware? I'm so into, and in saying it, I was like, wait a minute, did I just say the name that I'm going to use? And I remember Eric was he was there on the other end, just sort of like, all right, let's make sense of that. And he really helped me sort of ground myself as a young artist that was now crossing over into the professional world.
I think we talk monthly now, and even to the point where I had a solo show in New York in May, and we had a talk, and that was photographed. And
for the brand, I'd have to say our first Nike sneaker, the Dunk in 2003, was a big breakthrough.
I remember seeing his shoe come out and thinking, wait, what? Like, I thought you had to be an athlete. And maybe that's where the curiosity started for me of, well, this is potentially possible, right? Could I maybe become a person similar to this? Maybe one day I could achieve that same positioning of just being creative.
One of the things that attracted me about graphic design to begin with was working with other people, was putting my fingerprints on the world, that not everything had to be about me or my identity.
彫刻家です。ブレイクダンスの彫刻をずっと作っています。
My first trip to Japan was just really golden. It was so exciting to be accepted and embraced by a new culture and a new community. We did a 30-year retrospective at Park-Go in Tokyo a couple of years ago that I believe made a big statement historically for the brand and for me personally. It was the first time we saw everything, perfectly laid out and display.
2024年にヘイズの個展がパルコであって、で30周年ヘイズのリヘイズみたいなテーマで展示をするっていうことで、僕とコラボレーションしたいってことをいう連絡があって、でこれはその2022年にヘイズがその個展をしてた時にこれちょっと持ってって、これ次期のそのエディションの作品なんですけど、でこれにこれ書いてもらったんですよね。そうでこれがあったんで、そのコラボレーションの話を受けた時に、じゃあこれの大きいバージョンがいいんじゃないか。これをだからもうこれが110センチぐらいになっている大きさですね。だから頭身よりでかいサイズですよね。それを作って FRP に変えて、またもっと違うものをまた書いてもらってるっていう感じですね。
You know, for me, the perfect collaborations are when the aesthetic of the partner lines up with our aesthetic perfectly. Having the opportunity to design the U.S. ski team uniforms for the Beijing Olympics was a huge honor and an incredible moment watching that internationally on TV. You know, designing the Nets official jersey when Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were on the team was a big, big Brooklyn moment for me. I'm a Manhattan kid who moved to Brooklyn, so that was when I finally felt like a real Brooklyn native, and it was official.
To me, Eric was like the Milton Glaser, Paul Rand, like the logo, the identity. I don't want to use the word simplistic, but very thoughtful, to the point. Dunk.
でやっぱヘイズのもうモノクロ白黒っていうところで何ができるかっていうことを多分すごいやっぱ模索してる感じがすごいアーティストとしてもすごいとてもいい姿っていうかアーティストとしてあるべき姿。
His willingness to continue to push it a bit and be vulnerable and dip into fine art and start going outside of the perfect lines that he's known for doing. He's done that well as well.
When you see a Haze piece, you know it's Haze, and so it's stood out for decades now. But again, I think there's always been this like cultural mixture of his work with, you know, whether it's a brand or company that I admire.
And to me, the sort of now is the most precious time that we're still friends after all these years and we're still connected.
He was one of the early artists that invited me in and showed me things that, you got to be part of the movement and friends and, communities built around. And he was a very, very good person then. He's a better person now.
It's just a real honor to collaborate with FCRB. We've always liked the brand. We've always respected the brand. It's a brand that's managed to maintain its quality and its level for 2 decades and counting, and they have kept the brand and the identity very tight. Again, I'm just honored to be able to collaborate with them and put my fingerprints on the legendary F.C.Real Bristol brand.